I think it's probably surprised everyone, especially after round one and how they started in Vegas. You're sort of scratching your head going, this could be a really long season for these guys. I think it's a big game for Brisbane, mate. They seem to have turned a bit of a corner. Reece Walsh was fantastic again on the weekend. I do disagree with you. The competition ladder does lie a little bit because of the buys and giving points for the buys at the moment. They've got guys that have played big games. They know how to win, and they've still got that nucleus of the side there.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Big League Tuesday continues. What a pleasure. This is the former Warrior, former Bronco, former Premiership winner. He's played for Australia, of course. He's played State of Origin. He needs no introduction, really. Much beloved here in our country too. Brent Tate joins us. G'day, mate. Welcome back.
G'day, guys. How are we?
Well, what a game we got this weekend then, 5 o'clock New Zealand time. Warriors coming off that loss against Penrith. Broncos, probably, well, if not the best performance of the season, that was probably the Bulldogs, but certainly a convincing performance from what we have seen over the last 6 or 7 weeks. So this is going to be a hell of a matchup with a lot at stake for both teams.
Mate, big matchup. Always is a big match. I think, those games always bring out the best in both sides. And, look, Warriors obviously doing really well. I think it's a big game for Brisbane, mate. They seem to have turned a bit of a corner. Reece Walsh was fantastic again on the weekend. So, I'm absolutely certain they'll want to continue that little sort of, rich vein of form that they've found late that game against the Sharks. So, but mate, this always brings out the best of both teams. It'll be a massive one.
How relevant is momentum when you say that, Brent? Because 2 wins in a row, and you look at the record before that for the Broncos, and it is seriously up and down. I think 4 wins out of the first 5, and then about 5 or 6 losses out of 7. But 2 wins in a row. How important to take that into a game like this?
Oh, mate, it's big because we're seeing the competition at the moment. If you can win 3 or 4 games, you sort of shoot right up the ladder. So. Momentum at the moment in this competition is huge, and I think it's going to play a big part come back the back end of the season. Whatever team can time their run, I think is going to have some real success going into the final series this year. So it is big. Brisbane, confidence breeds confidence, and they've found a little bit of form. So some of their big guns are starting to play really well. Obviously, again, going back to Reece Walsh, he looked like he was on one leg on the weekend, but he certainly has brought a lot to the team, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of, strike power in their attack. So, mate, it's big for them. And as I said, I think whatever team can, time their run at the back end of the year and get some momentum, I think they're going to be really hard to beat. But it's, again, timing is a wonderful thing, and it's difficult to get in this competition at the moment.
What have you liked particularly about the Warriors this year? I mean, when you look at that points table, the ability to be able to absorb a loss and still have a 6-point buffer, between 4th and 5th. I mean, that's huge, isn't it? And so 10 wins is really impressive out of 14. But what are your thoughts about where they're at, how they're playing, and whether this has surprised you or not?
I think it's probably surprised everyone, to be honest, mate, especially after round one and how they started in Vegas. You're sort of scratching your head going, this could be a really long season for these guys. But, mate, the thing I've loved about them the most is just their consistency, away from home and in New Zealand. Like, they've just played well wherever they've been. And, their young kids coming through, mate, look fearless. They're all playing really well. They're playing without fear. They're respecting their oppositions, but they're also taking it up to them. So, mate, that's what I've loved the most about the Warriors of 2025. And as I said, mate, they're in a really good position. And you don't want to be peaking at this time of year. If they can time their run and get some momentum at the back end of the year, like I said before, that's going to be big. So, mate, they're really, really well positioned at the moment. And again, this will be a big test for them. You want to. When the big games come around against the big clubs, you want to be nailing it. So, yeah, big weekend for them.
Brent, the table doesn't lie, does it? And, you earn every one of those wins. And so you can't say you're in that position at all by fluke. In your mind, did the Warriors deserve to be a top 4 side right now?
Oh, definitely. I think they do. I do disagree with you. The competition ladder does lie a little bit because of the buys and getting points for the buys at the moment. Some teams well entrenched in the 8, and they've had 2 or 3 buys. So I do think the competition ladder is a little bit skewed with the way points are given for buys. So But, mate, the Warriors definitely deserve to be there. Like you said, they've had 10 wins out of 14 games, been really consistent all year. Metcalf has, been a revelation for you guys. And, mate, they're great. The big thing for the Warriors is their young kids, like I said before, coming through. Mate, they're confident, they're fearless. So I think that's, throw in, the experience that you've got with Fisher Harris and, that's a good recipe for a good team, and mate, they're nailing it at the moment.
We've got a huge matchup coming on Thursday night as well, and that's obviously with Panthers playing the Dogs, which is a massive match for both of those teams as well. Where do you see Penrith ending up? Can you see them actually, whether or not they've got enough time to make that top four, but just getting again what you say, that momentum towards the end of the season, if they get all of those players back, where do you see them in this picture?
Mate, I think if they make the 8, which I expect them to, really dangerous, because they've got guys that have played big games, they know how to win, and they've still got that nucleus at the side there, like Cleary, Fisher Harris, Mitch Kenny, those sort of guys. So, mate, dangerous. They make the 8. As I said, I get the feeling this year, the last few years, if you finish in the top 4, you can't sort of win the competition. But I do get the feeling this year, if you finish outside of that top 4, you're going to be still a big chance of winning the competition, because everyone can beat everyone on their day. And again, it's about timing that run. So I think if the Panthers finish anywhere in that 8, that'd be a really dangerous proposition come finals time.
A couple of quick questions. We'll let you go, and we always thank you so much for your time. But what you're saying is that rather than have one or two teams like we've seen, say, for example, last year, Penrith and Melbourne, and the previous year, when even though the Warriors got in the top 4, Brisbane, those teams were just way ahead of everyone else. You don't think it's like that this year?
No, I don't, mate. I genuinely believe we might see a team outside of the top 4 win the comp this year. That's just my gut feel. The way the competition's going, anyone can beat anyone. And again, it's, just timing that run and getting that momentum. And I think, we've seen when teams win a couple of matches, they win them well. The Dolphins the last few weeks, have put 50 on teams 3 weeks in a row. So, yeah, mate, it's funny the way the comp is this year. It's a comp that I've never seen before. Usually it's, there's a couple of teams that are real standouts and the rest are sort of cannon fodder. But I do believe this year, it's going to be an interesting time come semi-finals.
Do you still give your Cowboys hope?
Geez, mate, they'd need to turn it around pretty quickly. Mate, I wouldn't even be thinking about finals if I was the Cowboys right now. I'd be just concentrating on turning around a performance and getting a good game this week, because, their last 3 weeks have been, pretty ordinary at best. And yeah, there's no real way to sugarcoat it. They haven't been great. So, look, again, funnier things that happen, mate, but it'd have to be a monumental turnaround.
And finally, Origin last week, she's perfectly poised now for a couple of weeks, isn't it? It won all the split. But, it just was so Queensland, wasn't it? To be written off, to have, no one backing you, to think that then this is actually going to be a 3-0 whitewash, that New South Wales have got this, to turn it round like that. Just describe that as, first as an Origin player, as a Queenslander. Do you always have that belief? Is that something that is just ingrained, that you think, well, I don't give a shite what anyone else says?
Well, mate, as a Queenslander, you love when you get written off. And the minute that Billy Slater come out and said what he said before the game, I thought that was going to, really galvanise a group. Like, I thought if I was a player and my coach was sitting there talking like that and being attacked in the media, it'd really steal the group. And I think that did. So, mate, it almost set it up perfectly for us, didn't it, I think? So, yeah, look, I think that's just part of our DNA as Queenslanders. You never give up. It's a bit different now that you're out of it. I was really worried going into that game, but, they did what Queenslanders do, mate. They won against all the odds, and it sets it up for a huge game 3. I do think there's going to be a bit more drama in the fact that, there's still another round of footy to go with injuries and suspension. And, that could really turn this series on its head. A couple of key players go down with injuries, and then all of a sudden, it changes the whole dynamic. But that's the beauty of Origin. So, geez, mate, I'd love to see these Queensland boys win for Bill. It'd be great to see.
You're much missed and much loved over here. I keep saying that to you every time we talk, because I've got to pass the message on. It's true, mate. People love you here, eh?
Mate, I absolutely love my time in New Zealand. I haven't been back for a long time, mate, but I'd love to get back over there for Warriors Old Boys Day. I really enjoyed my time over there. The people, the food, the club, mate, it was just such a great time of my life, mate. So I've got beautiful memories of being in New Zealand.
This is the DSPN.